What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. This one I'm going to be going over a sleeper, breakout, and bust at all four of the major positions. That'll be quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. These are really fun videos to make. It really helps sort of just put names in terms of guys that I'm looking to target late in drafts, guys I'm really projecting to take that step forward this season, and guys that I'm also projecting to just really significantly underperform at their ADP. So really fun making these videos. Also stay tuned for the end of the video. There'll be a big announcement, so wait till the end of the video. It'll be good to hear that, and hopefully you guys like it and should be exciting. So yeah, I really enjoyed making these videos, and yeah, let's just get into the first quarterback here. So starting us off with our quarterback sleeper this season, I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. He's currently being drafted as the quarterback 18 right now. He finished as the quarterback 18 last season, and I think we all know exactly how horribly that season went for the Russell and the entire Broncos offense. It really can't get any worse than where he finished last season, and that's where he's being drafted right now. He's slimmed down in the offseason. He's reportedly down about 15 pounds, so he should be much more mobile. Sean Payton's really recommended and hinted towards wanting to see Russell run the ball quite a bit more this season. That's going to raise his rushing upside and increase his fantasy football floor. On top of that, the offensive line should be much improved. They're getting Garrett Bowles back at left tackle. They spent $130 million on two guards in the offseason, so they should have a much improved offensive line, and obviously the coaching staff I believe to be a huge upgrade as well. Sean Payton's notorious for having top 10 offenses. I think this should be a team that could easily finish as a middle of the pack to top 10 offense, and Russ is certainly going to have some really high-end weeks. He's going to offer some rushing upside, a lot more than some of the other quarterbacks going around him, and also he's going to have some pretty spiked performances just with how prolific his deep ball still is. On top of that, they're going to get in some shootouts with the Chiefs and Chargers probably, along with other teams. So should be a overall much better season for Russell Wilson. I think he easily finishes a top 10 quarterback, and if you want to wait forever at the quarterback position and just let him be like one of your last picks in your draft, I don't think you could do a lot worse than Russell Wilson at your quarterback spot. I would highly recommend still drafting two guys just to be safe here, but Russ is the guy that I do highly expect to outperform his ADP this season. Moving on to our quarterback breakout, I think Trevor Lawrence is poised to take a huge step forward this season. I think he could easily catapult his way into that tier 2 of the quarterback position, be a guy that we're talking about with the likes of Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. I think he's just going to be a guy that will really start viewing as a truly elite quarterback in the NFL. He's certainly going to be taking a huge step forward in terms of his weapons this season. They added Calvin Ridley in the offseason. He should be really slotting in as their wide receiver one. They've got really talented wide receivers outside of Ridley as well, and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. Obviously, Evan Ingram's a talented tight end. They've got two good running backs. And honestly, the defense isn't great as well. So this is going to be a team that's going to have to win games by scoring a lot of points. They've got the right coaching staff and the right weapons to do it. I think Trevor Lawrence could really take a huge step forward this year, and I really think he could easily crack into that top 5 at the position, although I don't quite have him projected that way. And for our bust at the quarterback position, I'm going to go with Justin Fields here. I just don't really buy that Fields can take that next step forward as a passer. He's posted 2 straight seasons of being absolutely horrific in terms of his passing ability. Just watching him play football, I don't really believe that he's a really talented passer. I don't think that DJ Moore is going to be enough to fix that. DJ Moore was not enough to fix any of the other quarterbacks he played with. He's obviously had horrible quarterback play throughout his entire career. We haven't really seen DJ Moore elevate any of his quarterbacks in the past, and I just don't really think he's going to be that kind of guy to really elevate Fields here. He's going to need to pretty much break the quarterback rushing record and get lucky with touchdowns to pay off his ADP. He's not going to throw for 3,000 yards this season. 25 touchdowns would be a huge accomplishment for him, and I just don't really see that happening. The Bears are also going to be a run-heavy team this offseason. This season they just even signed Mercedes Lewis, their second tight end acquisition of the offseason. This is going to be a team that's going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. They've got 3 running backs they like. Obviously, Justin Fields is effectively their running back 1. They're just going to be a team that are going to be a really run-heavy team. They're probably not going to win many games. I just don't really buy it. I don't think Justin Fields can really perform the way you're expecting him to, and I'd be shocked if he really performed above what his ADP is right now. Moving on to the running back position, my number 1 sleeper this season is going to be Tyler Allgeier. I really wanted to dive pretty deep with this position. He's currently being drafted as the RB48, and I think he's got legitimate top 10 upside if something were to happen to Bijan. Obviously, we know that Tyler Allgeier is very talented. He ran for over 1,000 yards last season. He was the running back 3 over the final 3 weeks last season, and honestly, he's just a really good player. The Falcons' offensive line is great. They're certainly going to allow whatever running backs running behind them to succeed. And reports out of camps right now are that Tyler Allgeier is actually receiving some work with the ones, even with Bijan there. Obviously, Bijan is going to be the clear-cut number 1 running back in this offense, but I think given how run heavy this team's going to be, you could see Allgeier get 10 or more touches every single week, despite Bijan being healthy and involved. And obviously, if something were to happen to Bijan, he'd obviously catapult way up in the rankings, easily be a top 10 guy. And I think even with Bijan there, Allgeier can be a guy that in deeper formats you could play on your flex during bye weeks, and you could use him throughout the course of the season. And like I said, the upside's just insane if something does happen to Bijan. And for our running back breakout, I'm going to go with Alexander Mattison here. I actually have Mattison ranked right around his ADP, but I think this is going to be a really prolific offense, and Alexander Mattison is just very clearly going to be the lead back here. He should see passing down work as well. He's obviously a competent pass catcher, and he's clearly going to be utilized near the goal line. He's got legitimate double-digit touchdown upside. I think he could be the kind of guy that really performs similar to what we saw Jamal Williams be last year, be the thumper in a really pass-heavy offense, be a guy that's going to get utilized near the goal line, could legitimately score a lot of touchdowns this season. He's also going to easily see 15 to 20 touches, so he should be averaging roughly 80 yards per game. He'll definitely post over 1,000 yards this season, probably break 10 touchdowns, and should catch plenty of passes as well. So I think there's a real world where that exists where Alexander Mattison finishes as a top 10 guy. We've seen him do that in little spurts so far throughout his career in weeks where Dalvin Cook missed. And if he could really string together a whole season like that, we could easily be drafting Alexander Mattison in like the first 2 rounds come next season. And you don't have to pay that right now. You're paying about a 5th-round price tag on him, and I think he could easily outperform that this year. And for our bust at the running back position, I'm going to go with Travis Etienne. I think he's a really talented player, but this is just going to be a pass-first offense. And Etienne was really just not good as a pass catcher last season. Though he came out of college really profiling to be an elite pass-catching running back, but he just wasn't a really competent pass catcher. He was super inefficient, didn't receive very many targets when he ran routes, and he was not very good in pass protection either. Tank Bigsby profiles to be much more involved in the passing game than you'd expect. He's also a bigger back that could easily steal goal line work as well. So it's just really tough to be a top 20 running back in fantasy when you're not catching passes and you're not scoring touchdowns. I don't really think Travis Etienne's going to do much of either, and it's just going to be really tough for him to perform really at a really high level, even though I think he'll be efficient, probably average about 5 yards per carry. And we could easily see him rush for 1,000 yards this season, but the passing volume's not going to be there. The touchdown numbers aren't going to be there. It's just going to be tough for him to perform well. So I have him ranked by running back 24 right now. He's currently being drafted as running back 13, and I think if he finishes outside of the top 20, he's easily going to be a bust for you guys this season. Moving on to the wide receiver position here, my sleeper here is going to be Rondale Moore. I think he's going to be the clear-cut number 2 option in this Cardinals offense in terms of their pass catching, and I think a lot of his touches are going to be scripted. He's one of the most explosive players in this offense, one of the few guys that can really do a lot with the ball in his hands after the catch, and that's going to mean that he's going to have a pretty consistent floor. I think he'll receive a couple screen passes a week, might be used as a running back a few times as well, given how limited and just how low talent the running back room is. He could be a guy that will certainly utilize out of the backfield a little bit, give him some end arounds, and when Kyler comes back, he's clearly going to be a number 2 target and what should be a much better offense. Until then, I think he can certainly be like a low-end flex play in PPR formats just because of how, honestly, I think Rondale Moore is really talented. We saw him breaking out last season before he got hurt. He posted like a 5-week stretch of 15-plus fantasy points, and I think we could really see him do that again this season once Kyler's back. I think he'll catch plenty of passes and be a guy that you could play consistently, and he's currently being drafted at an ADP of wide receiver 67. I think he could easily slot in and be like a low-end wide receiver 3 for you guys this season, be a guy that you can play if you need to, and being able to draft him that late is just free. If he doesn't work out, you're fine. But I think the real possibility here and the real outcome I'm expecting is for him to be involved enough that he'll just be a useful fantasy asset and somebody that you really didn't pay anything for. So he's totally worth grabbing late in drafts, especially if you went maybe a little more running back heavy, just want a guy that's going to help stabilize your wide receiver room. I think Rondale Moore is going to be the perfect guy to do that this season. Up next for a wide receiver breakout, I think this one's going to be pretty obvious for a lot of you guys. I've got Chris Olave here. I've talked a lot about him this offseason. I think he's clearly going to take a huge step forward. I think he can easily be a top 5 wide receiver this season. He's just an elite deep threat, and his new quarterback is a very capable passer downfield, and he's got a very strong willingness to do so. He had the second highest average depth of target in the NFL last season compared to Andy Dalton's ranking of 21st. So they're clearly going to be a team that wants to throw the ball down the field a lot more. That's going to really raise Chris Olave's ceiling. He's also going to see a target share in the high 20s. I believe I'm projecting him for a 27% target share right now. I think a 1,500-yard, 10-touchdown season is absolutely in the range of outcomes for Olave. And if that happens, he's going to be an absolute steal in drafts. I really believe in the talent. I think he's an elite wide receiver. I think he'll be a guy that we're drafting at the end of round 1 next season and a guy that I really want to have in my fantasy teams this season. For a wide receiver bust here, I'm going to go with Michael Pittman Jr. I think the Colts offense is just really going to struggle this season. I doubt Anthony Richardson throws for over 3,000 yards this year. And last season, as bad as it was, the Colts actually threw for 3,800 passing yards as a team. And with that, Michael Pittman still couldn't top his 925 receiving yards. It's just going to be a really rough season for him. I don't think we're going to see him really crack 800 receiving yards. He's going to be a guy that's going to have limited touchdown upside because there's just not going to be many touchdowns to go around. If anything, Anthony Richardson profiles to be more of a play action deep threat. The deep threat in this offense is probably Alec Pierce, not Michael Pittman. When they get near the goal line, obviously it's going to be Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor stealing those touchdowns. So he's going to have a low touchdown floor. I don't think he'll catch very many passes because this is going to be a really high running volume offense. This isn't going to be a team that's going to air it out very effectively, and it's just going to be really difficult for him to put up quality numbers in weeks where he doesn't score touchdowns. He's currently being drafted as the wide receiver 32, I think just because of the name value. He's obviously a talented wide receiver, and I think a lot of people just see that name there and want to draft him, but I don't see him being very useful at all this season. I currently have him ranked as my wide receiver 49. It's just going to be really tough for him to produce in his offense, and I think you're going to be really disappointed with him if you draft him. Moving on to our tight end sleeper right here, I've got Greg Dulcich as my sleeper this season. He actually posted really quality numbers as a rookie last season. We know it's really tough for rookies to come into the NFL and perform at a high level, but Dulcich really did do that last season. Reports out of camp are that they really want to utilize him all over the field, really create mismatches with him, and he's just clearly the number one tight end in this offense. The injury to Tim Patrick should also open up a lot of targets to go his way. I think we could see him even get slotted outside quite a bit more, be a guy that they really just want to utilize, get against corners, and be a guy that can really body guys. And obviously, that's going to give him a lot of touchdown upside when we get near the red zone. I think he can easily be a reliable weekly option. He's currently being drafted as the tight end 15. I think he can easily crack into the top 10 this season, maybe even break the top 5 if things go right for him just because of how talented he is. So being drafted that late, I think he's just absolutely free. And if you wait on the tight end position, I'd love drafting Dulcich this year. My tight end breakout this season, this one might be one you guys would expect. I've got Dallas Goedert here. I think Goedert's just really been consistently one of the most efficient and most talented tight ends in the NFL. I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that, but I think this is going to be the year that he's finally going to put it together and make it a truly fantasy relevant season, a season where he could finish as a top 3 guy. Reports out of camp are that he's going to be utilized a lot more in the red zone. We've seen him really struggle in that department so far in his career. He's got a career high of 5 receiving touchdowns. He only finished with 3 last season, and with only receiving 3 receiving touchdowns last season, he still finished the tight end 5 in points per game. I think if he gets that number up to in the 6 to 8 range, he could easily be a guy that cracks the top 3 with how efficient he is. I think he could easily break 1,000 receiving yards, probably have 70 catches this year, and if he gets even 6 touchdowns, he's going to be an absolute monster this year. So I think this is going to be a big year for Dallas Goedert. I think they're going to be a lot more pass heavy this season, having lost Miles Sanders, invested in Jalen Hurts. Maybe they want to utilize him near the red zone a little bit less, try and let him get hit less, and just let these really talented pass catchers work. And I think it's going to be a really big year for Dallas Goedert this season. And lastly, I think for our tight end bust this season, I'm going to have to go with Darren Waller. He's just on the wrong side of 30, coming off of 2 straight injury-riddled seasons. He hasn't been really fantasy relevant since the 2020 year, and he's now receiving a significant downgrade at the quarterback position, going from Derek Carr to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones only was able to throw for 17 passing touchdowns last season, and there's honestly just very few pass-catching weapons outside of Darren Waller. They're going to help take pressure off of him. Defenses are going to know that they just have to focus in on Waller, and it's going to be really easy to shut down the entire offense. And he's currently being drafted as a tight end 5, ahead of several guys I have ranked ahead of him: Goedert, Ingram, and Njoku, and obviously Kyle Pitts. If you want to take that upside shot, I think he's going to be much more likely to post really high-end numbers to the tight end position this season. There's just not going to be enough touchdown volume for Waller to pay off, and obviously I don't expect too much out of this passing offense in New York. They're just not a very good passing offense. This offense is still going to run through Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley running the football, and obviously there's a very real opportunity here for Darren Waller to be a complete bust due to injury. Even assuming health, I don't have him finishing inside the top 10 this season, and if he manages to get hurt, which he probably will given his age, given his injury history, then he's just going to be a complete disappointment where he's being drafted. So I can't find myself drafting Waller really anywhere near where he's being drafted right now, and I just don't think it's worth the risk there. So, you made it this far. This is going to be the big announcement here. We're going to start a subscriber league right now. It's going to be the first annual Real Steel FFB subscriber league. It should be a lot of fun. The draft will likely be over Labor Day weekend at some point, pending the availability of the 12 league members. It'll be a 12-team league, so there'll be 11 open spots for all of you guys. It's going to be a full PPR 3 wide receiver league, and of course the draft will be an auction draft because I know you guys know I love auction drafts, and I think you guys do too. So the way to enter is going to be just to email me at zsteel99@gmail.com. I'll be sure to put that in the comment or in the description below just so you guys can look at that. Make sure you include subscriber league in the subject just so that I know what you guys are emailing me about. The first 11 of you guys will be invited to join the league. Hopefully we get enough involvement here. I'm happy to go down to a 10-team league if we only get 9 emails as well, but I don't think we should have a hard time filling it up. I know a lot of you guys are big fans and really want to be involved in that. A lot of you guys have asked to be in a league with me, so I think this will be a fun way to do it. The winner of the league will for sure receive a spot in the league next year, and then we'll also maybe throw some prize together for you guys as well. So should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to compete against you guys. You guys can see how just fun it is to compete against me as well in fantasy. It should be a really fun year. So feel free to email me and see if you guys can get a spot in the league. Remember, it'll be just the first 11 of you to get it. So it really helps if you watch the video earlier on when it's announced. Should really help you guys get in the league. Obviously, you'll have to have watched the video so far to see this notification. So hopefully you guys are loyal. Hopefully you guys want to watch the videos all the way through, and hopefully you guys are really going to have fun with this. So should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it. So that'll do it for the Sleepers, Breakouts, and Busts video, along with that big announcement of the Subscriber League. Up next, I'll be getting back on track with the safest running backs to draft. I know I sort of pushed that back a couple days, but I wanted to get this announcement there and wanted to include that in this video. So it's been a lot of fun making these videos. If this is your first time on the channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. If you want more content like this, there'll be videos coming out every single day throughout the course of the rest of the off-season. So highly recommend that you subscribe to the channel. I think I'm going to do a really good job of helping you guys draft well and help you guys win your leagues. I'll be here all regular season as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you guys liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up on the YouTube channel. It really helps with the algorithm. It really helps me know that I'm doing a good job. It helps me know that you guys like the videos as well. So thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteeleFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.